Your brother's so your brother's so fortunate to have your support. And I know he can hear me, but I'm speaking from 15, a lot of experience. It won't work. It never works. Huh? That nope. No, you can't do that either. I've done it. It doesn't work. I promise you it won't work. I assure you it doesn't. I've done this for a long time. I love that you're trying. I do. But it's not going to work because every time I've tried to do that in the past and we've done our part, the other person does not. And then there are problems because there's no work involved. There's no follow through. There's always resistance, no willingness to continue going. I'm just telling you, no, I'm not going to do it again. If things change, call me. I'd love to help. Can't do it. Understood. About 5 months ago, I had a call like that, and it was a physician called. He's a physician in Pennsylvania. His brother is also a physician in Pennsylvania, actually like 30 minutes from where I played in the Pony World Series when I was 1989 years old. In 1989, when I was 14, we lost to South Korea in the World Championship game. And both brothers were on the phone. And one brother, the one who's not indicted, did the lion's share of the talking. And on the phone call, I knew pretty quickly where it was going. This brother who was not in trouble, like so many people, had come across our YouTube videos and really appreciated the content and really found value in just learning how people can get through this really difficult process as a family. And these brothers are close. And this brother who's not in trouble began sharing some of the resources with his brother who had been indicted for providing kickbacks, millions of dollars of kickbacks to marketers under the idea he thought he was simply providing a referral fee to bring patients into his practice. Of course, government investigators viewed it differently as kickbacks. And I know this physician felt as if he was exploited through these marketing practices by slimy salesmen, as he called them. And there was this real unwillingness to accept any responsibility for what had happened. And I knew on that first call, he'd already had a proffer meeting with the government that unfortunately just didn't go well. I attribute a proffer kind of, if any of you are married or dating, the goal of a proffer is to get another proffer, similar to when I met my wife, Sandra. I wasn't like, hey, I'm Justin. I just got out of prison. I had a great experience while serving 1 year. And while I was there, I wrote a blog and a book, and I'd love to get married and have kids, Sandra. How does that sound? No, I owe $500,000 in restitution. I don't quite have the career path planned out yet, but I thought we'd get married today. What do you think? That's how some people approach meeting with the government. They don't prepare for it. And I said that to my now wife. I wouldn't have been prepared for it. Instead of nurturing and going in all in to prepare properly, speak openly and honestly. And the goal, like that first date with Sandra, was to get another date. The goal with the government is to have another interview. So I know on that call with the brothers that the first interview didn't go well because the government thought he was a little, it didn't lie, right? It didn't lie, but a little evasive, didn't confirm, didn't really educate them. You can just tell he was kind of deer in the headlights. He wasn't really prepared. But here's the kind of unfortunate part. Even after that really bad proffer that he wasn't prepared for, because I know they said, yeah, it was fine, not going to hurt him, not going to help him. We would have loved to have brought him back if we thought he was more credible, but it's fine. He's good. We're going to talk to somebody else. We're going to go talk to another doctor involved in this case. Oh my goodness. So he had wasted this big opportunity, but even then he couldn't get shook, couldn't get the punch to the face. The brother was trying. The brother was trying to help, okay? He was trying to help him, man. And at the end of that phone call with the brothers, you heard me say, I said, dude, it doesn't work. You cannot guilt your brother into trying to prepare for prison and to try to get a shorter sentence than the guidelines of 47 to 54 months. You can't guilt him into doing the work. He is reluctantly on this phone call. He doesn't want to be here. We spoke. I asked him questions. He was evasive. I said, I've been through it. I understand. Our entire team has. We'd love to provide you some resources to help you better understand how you can minimize the impact at sentencing. And moreover, may I ask you a few questions about how you have been prepared? He's like, what? Help me understand, since you've gotten into trouble, what you've been doing to mitigate. Well, I hired a lawyer. Okay, what else have you done? What else is there to do? What else is there to do? I hired a lawyer, former U.S. attorney. What do you want me to do? I hired a lawyer. Can't do anything. Can't work. They took my license, the press release. Can't make any money. Okay. I understand. Do you recognize there are some people in your same situation who have actually found the ability to prepare and do some things? Would you like to speak with Dr. Nate Schott, a dentist in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where the government was asking for 63 months. He got 33 months and he was home in 10 months. I can't guarantee you'll get the same outcome, but there could be real value in speaking with Dr. Schott about what he began doing at this stage of the journey to assuage the concerns of his wife and 4 children. Would you like me to connect you? No, I don't want to talk to shoot. It's Dr. Schott. No, I don't want to speak to him. I don't want to speak to anyone. I'm here as a courtesy to my brother. You're here as a courtesy to your brother who's investing time to help you prepare. You don't want to be on this call. No, I don't. I shouldn't be here. The government is screwing me. If anyone is getting effed here, it's me. This is terrible. This is awful. F them. It's good. I don't want to be here. So what I'm hearing is if there are some things that you can do to try to get less than 47 months in prison, you'll do them. Then the brother steps in and he begins to commandeer the conversation. Bro, you got to do this. I got to support you. You got to see the interviews with the federal judges and Michael Santos and this and that. And Michael Santos interviewed a federal judge, and it's not what the lawyer says. It's what you do, and I don't think you understand. And I saw this interview with federal chief of probation, Chris, and the brother talks faster than I do at times. I saw the interview with federal chief Chris Maloney, and Chris Maloney said the first thing your probation officer is going to do is look at your probation report. You're not ready for your probation report. You met with the government and went terribly. What are you doing to influence the probation report? Do you want to get your life story in there? Can influence the judge, the probation. Like the doctor, his brother is a physician. This dude could join our team. He knows the messaging so perfectly. That his brother has watched every piece of content our team has produced with judges and other subject matter experts. He could recite it so beautifully to his brother, who just totally tuned out and was only on the phone call as a courtesy to his brother. Then the brother said, let me just pay this team. Let me just pay them and you'll get started. And that's when I said, as I opened up here, it doesn't work. You can't guilt someone to taking control of their own life, their own case, their own future as they're going through crisis. Some people learn through good literature. Some people learn through experience the damn hard way. And you're going to hear this story here soon enough from this person who called after sentencing, because I think he's going to join our weekly webinar that we have every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I'll put the link in this live YouTube description because he called after sentencing and he gets it now. He's learning the hard way. And like so many people going through this wretched, sickening system, he's dealing with regret that he let other people in his case. Some of these salesmen who provided these kickbacks that he thought were marketing referrals and all that stuff these physicians do to end up owing millions of dollars to Medicare, right? He got sentenced with the idea he went to medical school to defraud Medicare and overprescribe and hurt people. Do you understand how stupid that sounds? Do you have any idea how hard it is to go to college and then medical school and whatever the hell people do to become doctors? It is impressive. It is really hard. And to think that someone would go through that to eventually end up their name versus the United States of America is idiotic. But if you are not working to change the narrative and demonstrating to stakeholders like a prosecutor why you went to medical school, what you learned, why you did it to actually help people, they are going to paint you with this brush. You are a criminal, and they will be influenced by other people who want what? A shorter federal prison sentence by way of cooperating and getting the coveted 5K1. No, he didn't want to invest the time to understand stakeholders. Brother guilts him onto the phone, doesn't want to prepare. Lets others set the agenda. And there are prosecutors that are willing to let others set the agenda because it helps them get what they want. Convictions, looks good on television, that U.S. attorney. Someday that U.S. attorney might be your defense attorney. We work with hundreds of attorneys, but how many of you so enamored? I don't really do sales on our team anymore. But when I did, most of the time it goes like this. Let me speak directly because I'm here to help you. Justin, I'm watching all of your videos. I think I'm in good shape. I have a great lawyer. He's a former U.S. attorney. So what? Okay. He had a U.S. attorney that didn't prepare him for the proffer. They don't want him back. Had a U.S. attorney that didn't help him articulate how he should be doing things to get less than 47 to 54 months in prison. Instead, his brother had to step up, try to guilt him into preparing, and I wouldn't take the credit card. Now, I will be honest with you. I used to, under the idea I would rationalize that I could get through to them. I would convince myself that we would do the work, but it never went well. There was always a problem, and I'm at a point in my career, 15 years later, married, kids, great business team, not worth it. Not worth it. can't guilt someone into preparing, because as he advanced towards sentencing, the brother continued to reach out to me. Hey, man, watching the videos, like them, sharing some of them with my brother. I don't think he's watching them. And here's where I empathize a little bit with the brother. He's not alone. Before I went to prison, my mom used to send me Michael Santos's blogs where he had been writing from Lompoc and the Taft Federal Prison Camp, where I actually met him. And I actually said to my mom, I don't need to read no effing blogs from a dude that's been in jail for 22 years for selling drugs. I'm good. Making it harder on those that love and support me, making it harder on his brother, but moreover, his wife and children who are standing alongside him, and they can see how he responds to this crisis. Indeed, his legacy is building. And I said to him on that call, you may retain our team and get a guideline sentence. You may get a higher sentence. I can't guarantee what's going to happen, because if I could, I would be psychic. And if I could predict the future, I would probably be doing something else. But I can tell you there's value in living with dignity. There's value in setting an example. Your brother's read lessons from prison. Have you? Nope, haven't, won't read it. Understood. In that book, I talk about living like a miserable, fat, bloated slob while fighting my case. In-N-Out Burger 5 nights a week with my dog Honey on my lap, feeding her French fries, chewing tobacco all day to the point where when I would brush my teeth, they would bleed, ignoring my family. I didn't live with dignity. It's the hardest part of the experience, what you're going through, the waiting, the wondering. I empathize with you. I understand your family is watching. They're assessing, and we can help you, but you've got to help yourself. Nobody could be more vested. And I know that he heard it. He's a freaking physician. You know how smart this guy is? And I would agree that he got kind of taken in by some unscrupulous salesman who made some promises under the idea that he could grow his medical practice. There is no doubt. And there's no doubt that had he responded differently, he would not have been in a position where he was even looking at 47 to 54 months in prison. So as I try to express the legacy, thinking that could grab onto something, it didn't work. So while the brother's continuing to reach out to me, sharing assets with his brother, I knew he didn't watch them. So you know, of course, what happens. You go to a sentencing hearing with very cynical judges, right? Think about how hard that judge worked to become a judge. And I used to discuss this with Michael Santos in prison when he mentored me. He said, how long did it take for that judge to become a judge? A long time. They probably value discipline, character, commitment, authenticity. No shortcuts. If you've made a bad decision, own it, articulate, create a clear path moving forward. Judges are humans too. They make bad decisions. Does it make sense to articulate to a judge how hard you have worked to prove worthy of a better sentence just to try to compare yourself to a judge, right? Think about how hard they worked to the extent that you could also show how hard you worked to become a physician. You could probably argue in some cases it was easier to become a judge than maybe a physician. Who knows? They're both hard. Would there have been value then in articulating the entire story from the day that you were born? Probably makes sense. In my office here, I have that Dr. Bertram Sachs there. My mom gave that to me. My grandfather died young of a heart attack. He was my hero because I learned at a young age from my mom at how hard he was. He was a dentist in the war, and he came home with very little. He had lost everything, raised with nothing, and he built up and sustained and grew a family and a big dental practice and contributed to his community. Like, this dude was my hero. I wish he hadn't died so young. But when I think of him and I tell my children, I tell the life story of my grandfather. Well, you need to share the same life story with your judge. Where were you born? How were you raised? What did you learn? How did your parents influence you? Did you make good decisions? Were you raised with a silver spoon in your mouth like me? If so, own it. Or were you raised in poverty? If so, own it. How did you overcome? What was it like to go to medical school as this person did on a loan and then build a business and then pay it back? There was no student loan relief. He paid it all back and he thought that was his obligation. How hard did he work to get there? To not invest the time to share that with a judge who also worked that hard is sickening. It's the reason people like him get punished and filleted and crushed at sentencing because of the sentencing hearing as expected. It's just... there's no value in watching these videos if you don't do anything. Right? There's no value in them if you don't actually take immediate action. The brother did, the indicted brother did not. And you know who suffers? The children, the wife. So you go to a sentencing hearing, and did you know that you could issue the most beautiful, articulate, well-written allocution statement and you could still get absolutely crushed by a federal judge? See, people think it's like beautiful writing. Certainly it should be coherent. There's no question. It should be well written. It should articulate a really good message. I want it to be well written, but it wouldn't matter if it was in third grade English, kindergarten English, as long as it's authentic. So what happens is we approach this sentencing hearing where the defendant has done practically nothing to mitigate. He's already on the wrong side of the government by waiting to accept responsibility and having a proffer session that on a scale of 1 to 10 is about a 2, and it would have been an 8 if they invited him back. So we wasted this opportunity to potentially to cooperate, or at least have the government see that he didn't say, "I'm sorry," only because he got caught, which is essentially what happened. Right? It's very easy to think that like Medicare isn't really a victim because it's like so big and so massive and billions of dollars and there's such fraud and waste and gluttony. Like I get it, right? The amount of money that Medicare has wasted since I've been on this video is probably 10 times whatever this defendant was accused of illegally billing Medicare for, right? And then paying some of it back to marketers as care. I mean, you get it, right? It's total waste. People view it differently than I robbed someone, a mom and pop. I took their life savings and they're now living on the street because of me. People view that the same way with tax cases. Like, oh, it's the IRS. I mean, come on, there's billions of dollars. Though I've been to sentencing hearings where Judge Selma said, I am going to sentence you more harshly because this is a tax crime, because it is harder to ferret out and catch someone for a tax crime because of the bureaucracy. And I believe you leveraged off that bureaucracy and committing, that's a hard word to say. You leveraged off it in committing this crime. It's harder to find. I'm going to punish you no differently than if you stole from mom and pop on the corner. It's like, I had no idea. You're going to sentence me the same thing as some dude stole $1 million and grandma and grandpa on the corner. This is $1 million from the IRS. We owe $35 trillion. You're really worried about my $1 million to the IRS? Yes, it wastes government resources and it gets in the way of pursuing other more important cases. That's correct. Have a nice day. So he sort of arrogantly presumed the money to Medicare really wasn't going to be as big a deal as if it had been mom and pop who's living on the street. So we approached the sentencing statement, which is as boilerplate as you're going to get. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I accept full responsibility for my conduct. I'm very ashamed at what I've done. And in retrospect, I would have done things differently. And I'm very, very sorry. And I'm confident that you will never see me return to this courtroom as another defendant. I do want to find some meaning through this experience, and to the extent that I can really just give back and contribute and maybe help others make better choices. And, it's just been hard, Your Honor. And I've been, just waiting for a while to get sentenced. And, those press releases were difficult because they shut down my business. And I think had I been working, I might have been able to, you just make a bigger payment. I came over with a little money, but been able to make a bigger payment. And I really want to be with my family, and I'm sorry. And to everyone that I've hurt, I know just everyone that I've hurt, I'm very sorry. And I'm really going to continue to work hard to prove worthy of a second chance. You might be thinking, did he say something like that? He did, because he called me earlier today, and I need to wrap this up in a few minutes because I'm going to Wild Rivers Park in a few minutes with my family, and he's giving me permission to share this. Indeed, he's going to say it eventually on a Monday webinar, and he's asking me to share it because he wants everyone to do better. He wants everyone to learn from his mistake. He's watching this live right now, and it's hard. It's very hard. And I love that he encouraged me to speak openly and honestly. In fact, I think both brothers are going to fly out from Pennsylvania to see me in Orange County, which would be fantastic. But he's encouraging me to do this because he knew better. He knew better. He knew better. So let's talk about the ultimate outcome for a moment. When you don't build a record that shows why you're worthy of leniency, let me tell you what's going to happen. Okay. You're not going to get leniency. I mean, people think it's like so stunning. Like, I didn't do anything to demonstrate why I'm worthy of leniency other than hiring a lawyer, maybe getting a few character reference letters. I'm a first-time nonviolent offender. I didn't have bad intent. I'm going to get leniency. It's too early to begin preparing. I have time, right? Yes, you have time. The government's working full-time to take you to trial or work on your plea agreement. Lawyers billing, been fired from the banks, reputations in the toilet. Family's in disarray. You're in crisis. You can't sleep. You can't eat. Yeah, it's too early. People think that. My lawyer won't let me do it. And lawyer's very controlling. Doesn't really believe in the mitigation thingy. Wants me off the internet. Those interviews that Santos did with judges might help other people. They're not going to help me. I'm different. Get off the internet. It's your life, your case. You can do whatever you want. We would encourage you to advocate and build an extensive timeline that shows progress over a sustained period of time. Fed showed up, hired a lawyer, wrote out my entire life story. At the end of this life story, I articulate what I'm going to do in the weeks, months, and years to come, work openly with the government, set aside a little Kashinsky to pay back to the government, prepare for that proffer, prepare for the probation interview, cultivate character reference letters to get really great character reference letters, perhaps begin to volunteer somewhere like the Prison Professors Charitable Corporation, where we only help 1 million people in prisons and jails every single year. We're on the homepage of the BOP website. I don't know, is that a bad idea? Your lawyer averse to that? Your lawyer averse to helping 1 million people when we do work with the BOP? Maybe. If you do, I have something to tell you. You have the wrong lawyer. You're weak. You're afraid to hold them accountable. You can't take a leak unless your lawyer says it's okay. Got to own that. So many people go through this process with such high end, they're afraid of discomfort. They're afraid of the tough conversation. They cower. But that's what it takes, because every single day you have to be developing skills that include resiliency, developing skills to tell your story and share it and build on it. Coming back to what I said, it would make sense you begin preparing today to articulate the vision moving forward. Because guess what? You may actually do it. Okay. So what if at the end of you write this out today, you say, I'm going to do this? Are you more authentic if 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months from now, you actually do what you say you're going to do? And if you do, you update it, you build it, you grow it, you expand this timeline. Because as the brother who is not in trouble articulated quickly to me and his brother, did you watch the interview with Chris Maloney and Michael Santos, the former head of freaking probation, who said your probation officer on supervised release, the first thing they're going to do is look at your probation report, which has bad things because it talks about your crime. Therefore, it probably makes sense to influence the probation report, and it probably makes sense to build out a comprehensive, detailed timeline that shows progress and growth. So when you meet that probation officer, you're not just judged by what's in the PSR, you're judged by the record that you've built since then, which means you should probably go to prisonprofessorstalent.com. It's free because White Collar Advice sponsors Prison Professors Charitable Corporation. Probably makes sense to create a profile and begin writing, but that also requires work. So you can't fake it, right? You can't fake the work, right? So there are people like, I'm a fixer and I can guarantee you this and RDAP. And then let's talk about, you want to flush your money down the toilet, do it. Your life, your case, your future. If you aren't creating and demonstrating to cynical stakeholders, what will happen is the judge will say, you're sorry, you didn't mean to do it. All right. That's every defendant. That's everyone I see. That's it. What have you been doing this entire time? Now he had the lawyer articulate everything you would expect a lawyer to say, one-sided. And then, of course, you have the prosecutor asking for at least 47 to 54 months in federal prison. There was nothing extraordinary or compelling about him to get a lower sentence. So the government asked for a guideline sentence, and based on the ridiculous statements and terrible planning leading up to sentencing hearing, the judge essentially calls him inauthentic. You're telling me what I want to hear. I have seen no real change. You are a physician and held to a higher standard. You're a physician. 63 months in prison. 47 to 54 guidelines, 63 months in federal prison. Family's there, kids are there, brother's there. 63 months in federal prison. He's lucky they didn't take him into custody. You get experience in life myriad ways. Read good literature. Experience, learn the hard way. I want all of you to do something really specific, like one action item, and some will do it, some will not. Your life, your case, your future. I want you to do something today that helps you get closer to what you want. Is it a shorter sentence? Is it more respect from your family? Are you home from prison? Want to have more success on the other side? Something. Is it spending 20 to 30 minutes writing? Is it calling someone you haven't connected with, thanking them for their support way back when, or asking for their support moving forward? Reach out to our nonprofit, find out ways that you can get vested and involved. Reach out to a Rotary Club or Chamber of Commerce, ask if you could share their story. This physician could have spoken with me at myriad business schools about his case and received a phenomenal mitigation letter from the university, but the idea of speaking to students about criminal conduct with the goal to deter did not interest him. That's part of the reason the judge sentenced him to prison, the deterrence component, even though there's very little evidence, as I see it, that shows that sentencing him to prison in Pennsylvania is going to deter a doctor here in Orange County from breaking the law. It ain't so, but the judges love to refer to it. Do something positive and productive. These videos are just useless if there is no action. And that's how I'm going to wrap up this video. We love lawyers. We work with hundreds of lawyers. I've invested 6 figures developing topwca.com, which is featuring the best lawyers in America that embrace sentencing mitigation. We love lawyers. We work with them. To prove that, I spent 15, 20,000 sending 4,000 or 5,000 copies of this book to lawyers across America to introduce our work. We get a 7-figure commitment, I think, to our nonprofit as a result of this campaign. We love lawyers, but it doesn't change that they have some vested interest in articulating why you're worthy of leniency, and I pray they do it well. We know a prosecutor is paid to articulate why you should go to prison. The only one that really influences, in our opinion, the final outcome is what you have done to build and create and show why you are different than the government's version of events, why you will never return to another courtroom. If you created victims, that you identify with victims. And if that requires you to get uncomfortable, have the tough conversation, have it. I have a lawyer that's a control freak. Endure, embrace, own it. Prepare, measurable, build skills. If you want to follow the advice that federal judges have given us, advice from 1,500 sentencing hearings I personally attended. Going to the water park. Going to the water park now in Irvine. And I'm so grateful that the person who reached out is encouraging me to share this story. We're going to help him. Of course, we're going to help him. Thankfully, 63 months is not 63 months like when I went to federal prison with the First Step Act. And it's not as long, thankfully, but it's still 63 months. Very grateful that you're in our community. And just do the damn work, people. It's your life, it's your case, it's your future. Get to damn work, change the narrative. I'm going to the water park.